AskReddit by Dick from Accounting. How would you feel about a law that requires people over the age of 70 to pass a specialized driving test in order to continue driving? That's a great idea. I'm going to call my 68-year-old congressman and ask him to support such legislation. Edit. Most driving laws are passed by state legislators, who usually do drive themselves. And if they ever need to get a vote on such an issue, it's not like seniors are the best at getting themselves to the polls. Oh. I'm all for retesting people, however, I'm not sure what you mean by specialized. The requirements for good driving don't change with age, so it should be the same test. Maybe he means a few preliminary questions before even getting near a vehicle. Ideally, we'd all be retested every 10 years or so until we hit 60, then we're retested every 5 years. However, older folks are a huge voting bloc and it's unlikely this would ever pass. This is probably the best case scenario. I know dangerous drivers at any age, but have tests more often at younger and older ages for obvious reasons. Let me say this about that. The neighbor I love is 93 and still driving, when she's up to it. She can barely see the on-off switch on her vacuum cleaner. Should she be driving? I want her to maintain independence, but at the same time, I don't think it's safe for her or others. Yet the DMV doesn't require her to take a vision exam or a competency test. Deleted. Ugh, please. My grandma is practically blind and went to take her driving vision test to renew her license. She failed, but the lady at the DMV felt bad, so she had her take it again and gave her hints so she could pass it. So now my practically blind grandma is out on the road still. It's for their safety as much as anyone else's. I'm so mad that the lady at the DMV was so irresponsible as to let her keep driving. I know of someone, north of 80 years old, who had horrible cataracts, had refused to visit an optometrist for years, and was not fit to drive. They avoided eye examinations because they knew they would have their license taken. When they finally went to get a cataract surgery scheduled, their doctor told them that if they agreed not to drive until after the surgery and after their eyes healed, they would not have their license taken. Legally, they can drive. And plan to. But holy fuck, they should not be anywhere near a road. I'm all for retesting, because it would catch shit like that. I'm an eye doc and I'd be all for it. You know how often I get berated or threatened by geriatrics when I strongly suggest that they quit driving because they no longer meet the legal requirements for driving? Honestly, thank you for at least suggesting it. Elderly drivers are so rampant in FL that I'm literally scared to drive because one of them may kill me someday. One already disabled my mother for a number of years. People should have to retake the driver's test every 10 years if not 20. I've seen too many terrible drivers of all ages. Deleted. You should have sued and taken her pension checks. Can we make everyone take it? Seriously, I see more horrible drivers in the commuting age bracket than in the retired age bracket. Deleted. My grandma rear-ended a line of stopped cars on the highway at full speed, no brakes, with my 5-year-old brother in the car because she thought she saw a deer on the side of the road. She's been in another, less serious wreck, and has come to a dead stop while on the highway because she forgot where she was going multiple times since then. My dad had to unplug her battery and tell her that her car doesn't work anymore so she would start asking for rides. I would love if they took age into account in some way. I'm not an expert on anything, so I don't know how they would do it, so that families wouldn't have to be torn between treating their elders like a child or worrying if they're going to get a call from the hospital anytime they're behind the wheel. My fiancee's brother was killed riding his motorcycle Sunday by a 91-year-old who pulled out in front of him. He left behind a wife and 3 children. He was one of the best guys I have met. We are all devastated and it could have been prevented. That man had no business behind the wheel. I ride a motorcycle and almost got hit by an elderly woman going the wrong way down a one-way street a few months ago. I was honking and waving my hands and she was blissfully unaware of my existence. I managed to swerve off to the side with enough room to spare, but what if I had a bigger bike and wouldn't have been able to? We ended up going to the same place, and when I asked her if she knew she was going the wrong way and if she even saw me, she said, "Oh no dear, I was going the right way, you were just speeding. I was literally going less than 10 miles per hour because I was getting ready to turn. And even if I was, did she plan on just mowing me down?" It's ridiculous that she was so oblivious to what actually happened and still got behind the wheel of a car and drove home. I'm so sorry for your loss, that's really terrible. I'm gonna drop my pegs for him tomorrow. I'd be okay with it if over 70 drivers are statistically more likely to get into accidents. I just looked it up for the US. I found a 2012 report, https://www.aafoundation.org/sites/default/201 to older driver risk.pdf closed bracket dart 16-19 has the highest number of accidents, and then the rate decreases until 70. From 70 on, the rate of accidents start increasing again, but they never get back to the 16-19-year-old rate. We need statistics to show us which demographics cause the most accidents over distance driven. If the over 70 leads in this, then yes. I looked it up for the US, https://www.aafoundation.org/sites/default/201 to older driver risk.pdf closed bracket dart. The rate of accidents does start going up after 70. However, the age group with the most accidents is 16-19. So even people 85 plus are less likely to get into accidents than new drivers. As an insurance professional, just because you have been doing something for a long time, does not mean you are good at it. Drivers should be tested every 5 years, not just once you hit a certain age. Everyone should take a standardized road test every 5 years. I'd be okay with this if all the MVs were like Utah, with the DL division being separated. As it were, spending 30 fucking hours getting my license and plates in Las Vegas, no test required. I can't condone any requirement, including this one or voter ID, that forces people to go to the DMV. I'm for it. The inability for old people to drive would result in them voting en masse for public transportation improvements. The inability of old people to drive would result in them voting en masse to restore their ability to drive, changing nothing. By the time the law was passed, self-driving cars will be available. Or how about you just have to do a refresher course every 10 years? There are a lot of people out there with fully functional senses that still need a reminder about the rules of the road. I'd be all for it if we can compensate them by providing transportation to those who can no longer drive for low cost. Self-driving cars may soon fit this position. They should make everyone take driver's ed classes every 10 years. It's ridiculous to think someone who passed driver's ed even 20 years ago knows all the new traffic laws and car technology. Ontario has testing every 2 years for 80 plus 70 is a bit young for that, honestly. Edit, I'm surprised at how vehemently everyone disagrees with me that 70 is a bit young. It may be true that I just happen to know a lot of abnormally strong and healthy older people, but most of the 70 plus I know in no way fit the sickly, doddering image I think a lot of us have of the elderly. Just like the majority of 20 and under don't fit the irresponsible, reckless image a lot of people have of kids. According to these, admittedly old, stats, http://www.alcountries.org/a census/1045_age_number_in.html close bracket comma. The vast majority of traffic fatalities are caused by younger people. A better solution is to test everyone every few years, and have stricter medical conditions, for everyone. It is only written if I remember correctly. This has been tried, but the organizations like AARP are very powerful and shoot down this type of legislation.